Hello, hello. In theory, stream is working fine and proper. That's what I'm hoping for anyways. But, yeah, today I am going to be, for the first time, going through Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Now, I have played all three of the Ace Attorney games. Ace Attorney, and I've at least played through Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations, and I've at least seen all of Ace Attorney. So I know everything for like the three main games for Phoenix Wright. But I haven't played anything past that. Any context that I have for things afterwards, it all comes from Elements of Justice. So, we'll see how this goes. Let me turn my mic audio up just a little bit. Okay, that should be good. If you guys let me know if my audio is good or bad, that would be great. But, anyways, let's get started. Okay. Okay, Apollo Justice, we got Dual Destinies, Spirit of Justice, and the Museum. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna start off with Apollo Justice. New game. Episode 1. Turnabout Trump. Editor, you know what to do. Uh-huh. What is happening? Man's drawing. He's just like a... Is he like inside of a clock? Cards? Is this Liar's Bar? Showdown time. Full House and Full House. But the first Full House wins. You lose. Ah! Okay, so he grabs a wine bottle. Eek! Okay, he spilled a little bit of wine there. Just a little bit. Uh-oh, our guy's a cheater over here. Our dealer's a cheat. Ring ring. I seem to be in a bit of trouble. Something like that. Dead. Someone hit him. Hard. Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. Uh-huh. April 20, 9:37 a.m. District Court. Defendant lobby number 3. Panicked. Palms sweaty. Knees weak. Hang on. Mom spaghetti. Admit, I'm nervous. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Christoph? Uh-huh. You look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir? No, I'm loose. I'm fine. That screeching noise. Is that your voice? I suppose it's to be expected. Your first trial, and it's a homicide. I guess justice doesn't start small. They're actually letting people do this after Phoenix? And like, whatever he happened to do at the time? Okay. I'm fine. I got up at 5 a.m. to do my Chords of Steel voice workout. I'm fine. Ah, that explains it. I did detect a certain rasping quality to your screech. I overdid it again. Don't we all? As you know, your client today is a good friend of mine. I don't think we're allowed to take the case then. At least not you. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Drift gotten, sir. I'm all over that drift. As it happens, I dined with him the night of the murder. We can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite so much. People might take you the wrong way. Cool. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client. Okay. So, what this feels like to me is like mild Mafia Yakuza, where we're taking this case to clear him, even though he did the crime. At the very least, that's where my mind goes with this. My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney. And today is my first trial. Not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, of course, and so do I. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him. No way. Phoenix? Whoa. Good, morning. Morning. It's all up to you today. First trial. Nervous. Meeting him. Cardiac arrest. Uh-oh. I think I'm supposed to say something. Help? Check the court record real quick. How do I function this thing? Okay. Nah. Attorney's badge. The most important item in the game. It proves I'm a lawyer. How long did I yearn for one of these? Just putting it on makes me feel ready. Smith's autopsy report. The time of death was around 2 a.m. April 17th. Death caused by a single blow to forehead. Victim's name, Shotty Smith. Age unknown. Male. Estimated time of death, April 17th, between 1:45 and 2:15 a.m. Cause of death, cerebral hemorrhaging resulting from blunt trauma to forehead. Okay. And let's take a look at the picture of the crime scene. Okay. Okay. Cool. Let's see. The sub-basement to the Borscht Bull Club. Christoph Bossa Gavin Law Offices. A first-rate defense attorney and my trusted mentor. Question marks. My first client. Just standing in front of this guy makes me nervous. Shady Smith. That's probably his name. Shady Smith. The victim of this case, a traveler only recently back in the country. Okay. This something to help. So, you're fine. I'm I'm fine, Mr. Right. Mr. Fine, is it? I did remember you having an odd name. Well, we're off to a great start. Are you sure you're okay? I mean, with me? Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney. And he's your friend. So why? You'll see. Oh, I do not like that look. You can do it. Be confident. I'm really sorry this happened to you. I mean, it's time. Shall we? Yes, sir. Wow, Apollo is a nervous wreck right now. Okay, I need to focus. First trial. Here comes justice. April 20th, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 2. Oh, it's Mr. Payne. It's Mr. Payne. Court is now in session. Oh, what happened to his hair? Oh, that's hideous. No. He looked better in the other games. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is, fine. I mean ready, Your Honor. Apollo, you doing good? Mind going blank. Don't panic. Too late. Your name was Mr. Justice? This is your first trial? Yes, Your Honor. But I'm fine, really. I should probably give the judge a more, like, deep voice. Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strained. Mr. Gavin? Yes, Your Honor. I was under the impression that you'd be heading up this case? That was my intention, yes. However, a defense attorney must always see to his client's wishes. and my client specifically requested Mr. Justice. Oh, that is interesting, how he requested specifically a low-level attorney. Like, intro level? That's interesting. Well, of course he wants justice. But to entrust his case to this greenhorn, why? I do not exaggerate when I say that you're the best defense attorney in town, Mr. Gavin. Okay, so Gavin's got trial experience, fine. But does he have cords of... Unfortunately, Apollo, this isn't your high school debate. It's not whoever can yell over the other person wins. That's not how it works here. And let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. Dot dot dot. This is truly an unfortunate turn of events. I'm sorry we had to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright. Let's put the past behind us, shall we? These days, I'm merely Phoenix Wright, piano player. Okay, he plays piano? I didn't know that. I'd like to see him play a little bit of piano. I like the piano. Let's see him play some piano. Mr. Wright, how could this have happened? I won't speak of it further then. If the prosecution would be so kind as to explain the charges, Mr. Payne? To think I saw you enter the stream of fresh attorney, and now I'll see you leave in chains. Ah, Winston Payne. Subtle as ever, I see. Ahem! The crime occurred at the Borscht Bowl Club, a Russian restaurant. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him, wham, on the head. Smack! Killed him cold. I don't think we need the onomatopoeia for this. A customer at the restaurant, you say? And the defendant, you say he was... The pianist for the club, it seems. Phoenix Wright. A pianist? One second. I'll be fine. Ow. Okay. This is the weapon that took the victim's life. A bottle of grape juice. What, the defendant's allergic to grapes? Grape juice is apparently our defendant's drink of choice. The court accepts the deadly bottle as evidence. Deadly bottle added to the court record. Bears the defendant Mr. Wright's prints. Of course it does. Something to note, Justice. All evidence is filed in the court record. Yes, I already checked it. Make a practice of checking it frequently. The court record. Right, I've heard of that. Use E to look at the evidence so far. I'm confident in your ability to handle this. Right, just use E. It sounds like it's time for some hands-on action. Cool. So the victim was a customer at this restaurant. But just who was this, Shady Smith fellow? I believe he was a traveler, Your Honor. A traveler? According to his passport, he'd been out of the country for a number of years. He had only returned to this country recently, though his place of residence is unclear. And he had some sort of connection with the defendant? That too is unclear at present, Your Honor. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bowl Club on the night of the crime. If they had only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano play? Yes, Your Honor. I would murder a person if they said, "Oh, your piano playing is a bit dodgy today. Oh, you hit E instead of D on accident, you horrible, disgusting human being?" Nah, I highly doubt that's it. That doesn't appear to have been the case. No, the motive had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of planning. Wow. Already, huh? Like, not even 15 minutes into the game and you're already throwing jabs out here. That was fast. At least not piano playing. I'll let this photo explain what I mean. Yeah, it's gonna talk about, like, the cards. Yeah, they're playing cards. As we can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime. Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? That's a crime in and of itself! Yeah. Indeed. It appears our defendant... Hang on. Is gambling a crime? I think it's a crime in Japan to gamble. But at the very least in the US, like once you hit like 21 or something, you are allowed to gamble, I think. I don't know the exact laws around it though. Here's our defendant. Has fallen to become the basest sort of criminal? Uh-huh. Okay.
Objection!
It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim, yet it was only that. A game, in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor. A competition? Yes, a test of wits. A silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Come again? Cards on the table have blue backs, Your Honor. I believe the defense was waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify those present and impress one. Okay. That will be our first order of business here then, to find out more about this fatal game of cards. Very well. Defendant, you will testify to the court about the poker competition held at the night of the crime. My pleasure. This is it. My first trial. Here goes nothing. Get it? 'Cause I'm doing nothing. So here goes nothing. I'm so clever. Witness testimony. Hopefully the first few contradictions won't be that difficult to spot. I'm a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. The room where we play and the competition in there... No. The room where we play and the competition in there are the club's main attractions. Okay, so it's mostly about the cards, okay. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. 2 decks of cards? Hang on. 2 decks of cards. Are we sure there's 2 and not just 1? Why haven't the cards been submitted to evidence yet? But it could just be 1 deck of cards, is what I'm thinking. That's all it is. A game. And our customers are happy. A pianist who can't play piano? Better than a defense attorney who can't defend. Very well. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Right, Your Honor. My first cross-examination. Don't blow it. Are you alright? You're sweating bullets. Bullets? Where? It's a figure of speech, Justice. Your voice sounds strained and raspy, too. My brain feels strained and raspy, sir. That's fair. You watched me perform cross-examinations many times. Though you've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher? What to do? Should I ask Mr. Gavin for a refresher in cross-examination? Sure, why not? It'll be good to learn the controls on keyboard instead of the 3DS that you played on before. Better safe than sorry, especially this early in the game. Yes, teach me. I know nothing. Indeed, your job, Justice, is to be mindful of the court record and the testimony. Look for inconsistencies in the testimony with what the court record tells you. When you found an inconsistency, that's when you present the conflicting evidence from the court record with B. But I didn't hear anything strange at all in the testimony just now. Hang on. I do want to double check to just make sure there's only 1 deck of cards. I can't tell if there's any duplicates or not, that's the problem. If I could see any duplicates, then that would solve that for us, but regardless. Good sign that you may need to press the witness with Q for more information. Okay, so Q is press. Press him? Don't let the fact that he's a remarkable man hold you back. Get more information. But isn't Mr. Wright my client? Well, think you can do it? Yes, thank you, sir. I think I can do it. I think you'd better, or we're gonna have a problem. Just remember, find any inconsistencies, any lies in the testimony, and reveal them to the court. That is cross-examination. Learn it, know it, do it. Inconsistencies? Lies? Phoenix Wright? Yeah, everybody on the stand lies. There may be only like, what, 2 people in his attorney history who haven't lied on the stand? As if. Phoenix Wright would never lie, and it's up to me to prove it. The defense may begin the cross-examination. The competition. Against my trader, I can hardly play at all. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table.
Hold it!
They pay you just to play poker? That would seem to be the case. I am a professional. Are you a professional poker player? Do I take pride in that statement? It's just hard for an honest, hardworking member of society like me to imagine. Yes, your imagination was always a bit limited, Winston. Wow. What? I played poker for 7 years in that little room, and I've never lost once. Uh-huh. Well, okay then. Well, you see why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. It's quite a draw. I'm sorry, but to never lose once in 7 years of what sounds like at least semi-regular playing, that is statistically impossible. At the very least, very, very improbable. Because in 7 years, it's very likely that someone has a hand that beats yours. Like, someone is going to eventually draw a royal flush and you lose. Which means that the games were most likely rigged from the beginning. Which is what the cutscene tells us. That is, I'm quite a draw. Wait, you've never lost once? Not even one time? As I said, I'm a professional. Uh-huh. He's played poker for 7 years and not lost once? Is that even possible? Surely it's not. The room where we play in competition or becomes main attractions? Okay.
Hold it!
The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction? That's quite a history, actually. The Borscht Bowl Club used to be a gathering spot for black market types back in the day. But black market? All in the past. Things like the black market are only on the silver screen nowadays. Suffice it to say, there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right there in that room. A smoky room. Gambling hoods. You know, just looking at this picture makes me feel bad. The bosses gather around the table, cutting deals, safe from the eyes of the law. Meanwhile, a goon keeps watch through the small window. I can practically picture it now. That window does look like it would be good for keeping a lookout, but little else. The room had a few other tricks to it, though it was common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they came to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. This is what I meant. 2 decks. A simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks, no one can slip in cards. The problem isn't slipping in cards. The problem is that if the opponent's not allowed to cut, you could force cards. And even then, if you don't alternate which deck you're using, even if you do, because you're the one in charge, you know the decks, you can use techniques they wouldn't be able to. There's something else I noticed. In addition to the cards on the table, there are some lying scattered on the floor. Precisely. Cards on the table, cards upon the floor. Each one forming a complete deck. A crime scene painted blue by a sad sweep of cards. It's poetic, really. Incidentally, we used 2 types of cards at the club. One deck of cards was red, the other blue. As I recall, in poker, you make 5-card hands. Yeah, it seems like they're playing 5-card poker, where you, like, have 1 chance to trade in your cards. I can see how it would be easy to cheat. Yes, a game of hands. This competition you're talking about. I believe the court understands the nature of the game sufficiently. That's right. It was a simple game after all. Are you sure? Huh? People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. Defendant, you were in the room the very moment that the crime occurred. Right now, it looks like if there were a motive for murder, it would be he actually lost that game, and he killed his opponent to keep him silent to maintain the image of him being perfect. That's what it appears like to me at the present moment. Did you claim no connection to the crime? Now that's strange. What's strange? I was testifying about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point is against the rules, Your Honor. Of course, I expected to hear a cry of objection from the defense. I completely let that one slip by. Don't despair yet, Justice. Sir? Right, there's something I'd like made clear. Namely, your connection to the case at hand. And I'd like to hear it from you. Sure, why not? Very well, the defendant will amend his testimony. Just one little press. And I've got myself a whole new testimony. Okay. Okay, game. Okay, I do get that it is case 1. But you could at least make it a little bit more discreet what you're trying to do here. Come on. Can I present it, please? Objection! Opening objection for having presented evidence during your first cross-examination. So you say you didn't touch the murder weapon, this grape juice bottle, right? So I said. Something the matter, Mr. Justice? Yeah, Your Honor, my defendant's a liar. It's looking great for our case right now. Oh, I hate that. Too bad our new defense attorney never learned how to play dumb. What's this, Mr. Payne? I examined the bottle in question, you see. And it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints. I mean, you were going to bring it up regardless, though. Objection! No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I can hear you just fine. Ah, that's funny. Excess yelling can damage the judge's ears and our case. But what about my cords of steel? Anyway, what's so strange about... Okay. Okay. None of this looks good. Because the only possible defense we have is that because the grape juice is something that could be a common thing in the restaurant, it is possible that he grabbed the bottle to pour it for someone else. And there are several other grape bottles there, right? So at different times, he could have held them to pour them for customers or something like that. So it doesn't make sense to judge him off of his fingerprints being on the bottle when he could have very easily just poured someone else a drink and forgot about it. The problem, the main problem with that, is that Phoenix said he never touched, and I quote, the murder weapon. Which means he knew what the murder weapon was. Which kind of discredits what we're saying here. Well, that's true. The prints alone don't prove he... Oh, they wouldn't prove a thing if they were normal fingerprints. Huh? But the fingerprints on the murder weapon were upside down. Okay. Uh-huh. Upside down? What does that mean? It means he smacked a guy with it. It means he was holding the bottle inverted. There can only be one reason for that. Yes! To brain someone with the bottle! Uh-huh. Mr. Gavin, I think things just took a turn for the worse. Oh? I see no problem, Justice. Huh? The only thing that matters is the truth. There's a good reason for everything. You'll see. Defendant, can you explain your fingerprints on this bottle to the court? I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. Okay. for now. Not very cooperative, are you? This could hurt Your Honor. This is America. I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason. Your Honor, you seem to have forgotten something. And what might that be, Mr. Gavin? On the night of the crime, who was it who reported the murder to the police? Reported? Well, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright. But still, that... Really? Yes. Well, according to the case file, the murder was reported from near the scene by a call from the defendant's cell phone. Near the scene? Let's take a look at a diagram of the murder scene, shall we? Sure. The victim was murdered in a small room in a basement 2 floors down from ground level. Okay. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down. The defendant used the stairs in this hallway to go above ground. The call came from the first floor of the restaurant. I see. And this is the phone that made the call? Okay. Used by the defendant to notify the police from the restaurant's first floor. Okay. The defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he so chose. Yet he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities. And you claim he is being uncooperative? Nice save, Mr. Gavin. I'd better not waste this. I think the prosecution has toyed with our client enough for the time being. Toyed? I assure you, no one is more serious about— What was it you said? The defendant was in the room the very moment that the crime occurred? How can you possibly know this? It's a good question. How indeed? That is a good question. The answer is simple, Your Honor. The prosecution has a decisive witness. Okay, here we go. You're as good as they say you are. So someone else was in the room the night of the crime? That must mean they witnessed the crime. Everything up till now has been a warm-up, Justice. Are you ready? I'd say I'm pretty much ready. Very well. The prosecution may call its first witness to the stand. Let's see if I can't do this real quick. Yeah. Okay. The witness will state her name and profession. Hold on just a moment. Where's the Okay. Should probably calm her down a bit. I surmise she has been frightened by the defense's demonic-looking horns. So I used a little hair gel. Relax, people. Have no fear. If any horns point in your direction, this court will cut them off. You are sure? I swear it on my gavel. Please, come out. Isn't violence against terror a crime, Your Honor? Well, if you're sure it is okay. Now, the prosecution. Wait a minute. Would the prosecution care to explain the witness's, paraphernalia? Yes. She is a professional, Your Honor. Those are merely the tools of her trade. And that would be? My name is Olga Orley. I am employed as a waitress in Borscht Bowl Club restaurant. Then why the camera? Of course, it is my pride to serve borscht that is naming restaurant. That doesn't feel like English. But I also perform, how it is said, other service. I take it one of those other services is taking the customer's pictures? Da-da! Like, for example, this one. That's the defendant. Indeed, on the night of the murder. Man in white hat is one who has gone kaput. Indeed, that is the victim. Order! Order! This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop in our laps. It is same way as I drop cold bowls of borscht on laps of customers casually. And the court will casually accept this new evidence. And let's take a quick look at this picture. Please let me take a look at the picture. Okay. So he's at the piano. They're talking. Is there anything of note right now? The grape bottles, maybe? But he wouldn't have grabbed them from there. Like, upside down from there, probably. Now, witness, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in room. The hideout, we call it. Excuse me? The hideout? It is room where famous gangster, bad guy, was arrested. It is room where murder took place. What? Your look of utter surprise. It is lovely. I will post by courtroom door later for you. Da-da. Photos will be numbered, and you will write which ones you want copy of. So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. Hang on. 1 second. I wanna... Can I not take a look at the map of the crime scene then? It's like, this is a completely different room. Yeah, that's just a different room. There were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga Orley, our witness. And if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, that means... Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about that night's events. Alrighty, let's see what we've got. That fateful night. That night, customer asked me to deal cards for a game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on. Duh. The victim, he plays whole time with his hand on locket at his neck. Can I check this? Uh-huh. Then, last hand is done. But something terrible has happened to Duh. That man flew at victim and is strangling him to death. Okay, I'm gonna press that. If she doesn't amend it, then that's what it is. Stanley, who won the game? Is it obvious? The winner was the victim, Mr. Smith.
Objection!
That's ridiculous. Because Mr. Wright... the question would be, why is it obvious? Tell us. Not... Apollo, you're going about this all wrong. Maybe you can come up with a more legitimate objection, but he hadn't lost in... It's a game of luck, Apollo. Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose a case my first 7 years as prosecutor either. Honest? Hang on. I have a counter question to that. How many cases did you take in your first 7 years as a prosecutor? Incidentally, I have some evidence here. Yep, kings full of aces beats sevens full of aces. These are the poker chips as they lay at the very moment of the crime. The handed chips on this side belong to the defendant, Mr. Wright. And those on the far side belong to the victim, Mr. Smith. Chips, you say? That. I mean, yes, imagine that poker is war. Your hand is your army, and the chips are the spoils. I know that. After all, in my youth, I was known as the poker head of courtroom number 3. Okay, good for you, Your Honor. Good for you. Looking at this picture, it does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Okay, we have something else as evidence for a change. Very well, the defense may cross-examine the witness. Alrighty, I'm gonna real quick go through to that line and press. If she doesn't change it, that's what it is. Yep. Hats on. Yep. Yep. Press. But the defendant would never do such a thing. Apollo. Well, now, can't say I've ever heard the defense try this tactic. If possible, please refrain from embarrassing me. Still, why would anyone do something like this over a game of poker? Perhaps it is because defendant has lost game? Blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Come on. Let me present the thing already. Go ahead, I believe you know what it is you need to do. Yes, I do. Just let me do the thing. I don't care. Let me do the thing. Please. Okay. Let me present it. Objection. Thank you. Oh, really? Strangled, you say? That's odd. Duh. Normal customers only choke on borscht. No, I mean, this report shows that the victim died from a blow to the head. Heck. Miss Orley. Really now? Did you witness the crime? Eek. Okay, that's impressive. Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He's still wearing his hat and everything. Yet, it is a fact that he was hit, Your Honor. Here's a photo we took of the victim with his hat off during our investigation. Well, that's quite shocking, isn't it? This head certainly was hit. Okay, let's take a quick look at this. But I have seen it happen. Hang on, let me take a look at this real quick. She said he had his hand on his locket. In the picture before, there was no locket. In this picture, there is no locket. Well, okay then. The defendant, he lunged at victim, his neck. Oh really, Miss Orley? I think I've caught you in your own lie this time. Justice? I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. What do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's one thing in her testimony that troubles me. Very well. It seems you should continue the cross-examination. There's such a thing as thinking too much? This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much, too. Wait, there's more? That wasn't it? Fine, I guess we press everything. Oh, that could be what it's referring to. Okay. It could be that there are 2 decks of cards to ensure that no one was cheating. But if one person was handling both decks, then that could be how the cheating happened. That could be what he's referring to. This often? Duh, I am doing this. If customer wishes it, I serve anything. Borscht, cards, more borscht. It is my work. It's good to hear of a place that hasn't forgotten the meaning of its service. Welcome you to Borscht Bowl Club, where borscht is as warm as the waitresses. Thank you for not handing out flyers during the cross-examination. It was cold. Both players played with hats on. Okay. Let me take a look at everything real quick. Good. Good. Okay. So they did play with hats on. Is there anything else that catches my eye right now? Not right now. Hats on net. Sure, why not? Let's just press everything. It's already April. How could it be cold? At Borscht Bowl Club, we have pride on authentic rustic Russian restaurant theme. Outside it is city in spring, but inside is always as cold as Mother Russia. No way am I going there. When it comes to hot borscht, cold is best seasoning, da? Victim. He plays whole time with his hand on locket at his neck. Okay. It is possible that it is present the photo of him without his hat here to show he wasn't wearing a locket. But for right now, just in case there is more information that I need to get, I'm gonna press for now. And if I go through pressing everything and I still haven't gotten anything else, then I'll probably do that. His locket? I believe it was good luck charm, da? He gripped it many times as he played that night. Yes, he must have felt as though it might carry him to the moon and the stars. Though if it were small enough to fit around his neck, it wouldn't have much lift. The defense would like a clarification. This is a locket we're talking about. I mean, a pendant with a picture on it, right? Not a rocket? Of course, I knew that. It was probably a pendant shaped like a rocket. Of course. LMAO. It's considered a bad form to poke fun at the hard of hearing in our society. That's fair. Hearing our heart of understanding. So, what happened next? It's down when something terrible has happened, yeah? Something terrible? Apollo? Sorry, I need to seriously reconsider this vocal training thing. Now, Miss Farley, can you tell us what happened? Oh, I was so frightened. Duh, I trembled with fear. Defendant tried to strangle victim, he hit him with bottle. Okay, so he tried to strangle him and then hit him with a bottle. Okay, can I go back? People, blah, 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 and tries to kill her. Okay, cool. I'm gonna try it.
Objection!
Cool. Objection! You know, there was one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. But what does it mean? Mr. Justice, would you care to explain what it is you're thinking so intensely about? Recall the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with his hand-on locket at his neck, I believe she said. I hope you aren't about to raise an objection to turn to the witness's Nah, I'm actually understanding like that. I know that my Japanese, as little as I know, is broken as crud. No, but look at this photograph. Do you see a locket on the victim's neck? Well done, Justice. I'm impressed. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does it mean? If we are to believe this witness's testimony as is, then the locket disappeared following the victim's death. Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor. It's quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off, no? Taken it off? Wait, you don't mean... The defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it? It would, yeah. Defendant, what do you have to say to this? Say. Yes? I just noticed this, but you have something hanging around your neck, don't you? Oh? You mean this? Yes, it's a locket with a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter. Come again? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter? We confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture in the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. So Mr. Wright has a locket too? Why don't I buy that this is just a coincidence? Well now, if the results of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps you should hear a bit more about the outcome of the game. Further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost. Badly. Miss Sorley. We'll testify to the court about the game played between the victim and the defendant. Alrighty, so far so good. But this testimony is serious competition. The game began with 3,500 point-in chips for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, it was the victim. For last hand, defendant play with all chips on table and lose. The moment loss was decided, defendant grabs bottle from table and... Doesn't that contradict what he said earlier, where he was strangling him and then hit him? Indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game. Okay. Is there anything we can deduce from this? Right now, I can't really see anything. As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow. Ah, how many times have I heard these words? I done it in a fit of anger, Your Honor, and now I regret blah blah blah. A common tale, but true. He thinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. It could be correct though. He's just omitting that time or trying to save face or something along those lines. 35 points for each man. Sure. Are those the usual starting points? Were any special rules used? No, not special. Usual game. Usual rules. That's a good specification to ask, though. If each man began with 3,500 points, then the total would be... Your Honor. He did get there in the end. But are we sure this guy is qualified to judge whether or not someone gets to live their life? Please, this isn't calculus. It's not even long division. Though, to be fair, the hardest part of calculus is the arithmetic. House ships come in 2 sizes, small and large. Can we ask how much each one is worth? Are the chips in this photo all the chips that were used? Surely not. 10 and 5? Duh, of course. Something's fishy with these chips. Should I press harder? I guess for right now, we can say it's fine, because I don't want to pressure her too much. But if we do come to a dead end, this could be a possible escape hatch for later. For right now, we can just chill with it. She should be jumpy and suspicious looking. Anyways, 10x plus 5y equals 7,000. But then how would you start off even? Right? Because if both players are given 3,500 points. No, I do think the math kinda doesn't check out because it's 10 and 5. So unless the little ones, hang on, if they're wagering with all the tables used, all the things used, that means, I'm gonna actually check this out real quick. Hang on, let me open up MS Paint to illustrate the point that I want to make. Paint. Here. Let's do this. Okay. So, there's 10 chips, right? 10 larger black chips and 5 smaller red chips. Come on. Yeah. Looking back here, we can see that Phoenix had 4 reds and 1 gray. Over here, the victim had 9 gray and 2 reds. So let's cancel. In order for all of the chips right now to be played for, that means either Phoenix had more to push this guy all in, or most likely, both players currently have the same amount in chips. Because if the gray ones are worth more, when Phoenix went all in, which I assume either Phoenix went all in, and this guy called, which wouldn't use all of his chips, probably, or this guy bet an amount to make Phoenix go all in, it wouldn't make sense for all of the chips to be up for grabs unless they're all worth the same amount. Meaning this half and this half are the same. Right? So this means that 4 reds, I'll make this gray, 4 reds and 1 gray. Hang on, there's 6 of them. Okay. 2 and 9. So start off with 3 and 5. Okay, I thought there were 6 reds. Or 5 reds. There's 6. Okay. Cool. That probably clears up most of what's going on, but I'd still like to know the values of each of them. So here, the 2 reds cancel out, leaving Phoenix with 2 reds in terms of a difference, and the other guy had 8 gray in terms of a difference. Which means that gray is worth 1/4 of red, right? Just real quick, think about how this math would work out. So if there were 10 gray and 6 red, let's set red as x, right? So we got a 6x plus 10y equals 7,000, right? Based on what we see here, we know that the red has to be 4 times the gray, which with our red as our x, that means y is equal to 4x. So this would be 6x plus 40x equals 7,000, or 46x equals 7,000. Let's real quick pull out a calculator for this part. 7,000 divided by 46. It doesn't fully add up because it's a long decimal. Which makes me think that the math here doesn't fully work out, so there's probably more chips. Of course, You know what? At the very least, we can ask how much each chip is worth. You can explain a bit about these chips. Explain? What is there to be explained? Poker chips are poker chips. How much is each chip worth? That's something I want to know. They're not fish and chips. Not a chip of the old block. Not a motorcycle cop. Not a... Calm down, Mr. Payne. But, I don't think that the math that I did was wrong. It could be wrong. If it is wrong, someone point it out, please. But, regardless, I do think the math doesn't check out. Now that I've pressed her, I better ask something. What are these chips worth? Thank you! Yet, as I've been saying before, it is a game, not gambling. Hard pressure capitalists to understand 2 types of chips, 100 and 1,000. Which one is which? Okay, so red is 1,000 and gray is 100 then? Okay. So with my math, the assumption that both of them are equal were wrong. Okay. But at the very least, now we know what each thing is worth. I'm going to make a quick mark of this on my pad. Red equals 1,000. Gray equals 100. Okay, that checks out. Justice. Sir, don't you find her comment interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it added to her testimony myself. Well, does the defense want the witness to add to her testimony? Yes, please. Yes, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add it to the testimony. I wish I knew where I was going with this. Very well, witness, if you would be so kind. Your Honor. One kind of chip is worth 100 points, and the other is worth 1,000. 2 kinds in all. Okay. So what that tells us is that Phoenix was actually the one winning the game. So the assumption that Phoenix was losing here is wrong, because that means that the red ones are worth more. That's what that tells us. That's where this is going. Now, if only we had something in our court record that said, he was killed because, Mr. Wright was losing. If only we had that right now. But that's where this is going.
Hold it!
Mr. Gavin said this testimony is important. It is! To be honest, I have no idea why. Cause right is winning, that's why. Mr. Justice? Do the court a favor and think of what you want to say before raising your hand. We're not in kindergarten. Sorry, I'm fine. I'd better think of something to ask. And quick. 2 types of chips. Duh. The small ones are 100, big ones are 1,000. Apollo! Yeah, he knows. At the very least, this is about to be clarified for everyone, regardless of whether or not they enjoy doing algebra. That, the red ones are worth more. Ha! Don't waste our time. Sigh. Is that all? Yeah, gulp. Great, Mr. Gavin made me stop her and now I'm the one who looks dumb. Oh, Justice? Please try not to embarrass me like that. Who? Me? There's a clear contradiction in the information you have in your hands. It is a simple matter of calculation. Go on, try it. It is! We aren't in kindergarten, that is true! There we go! There we go! Hang on. Here. Objection. There we go. You're sure it was the victim who won? Yeah. Absolutely sure. It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at the picture is enough to tell you who won. If you're not in kindergarten... Well, it appears as if Mr. Payne isn't in kindergarten. It appears as if he's in preschool. Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court? Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Right, the big ones, of course. Duh! Okay, Mr. Payne. Go back to your mommy and daddy, have them clean your diaper a little bit. I should probably stop. Oh, I thought so too, but then the totals don't add up. The totals? Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips. And the combined total value of the chips was 7,000 points. Yes, if my calculations are correct. Let's see, 3 plus 1, carry the 5! Your Honor, it's 7,000 points. They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points, and the small chips are worth 100, then we'd have a total of 10,600 points. And you add them up, how much is it? Well, Mr. Payne, please. So if you aren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony. Yeah. I'll just make sure of something really quickly. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. But why? How could this be? How could what be? What's the problem? Just means that Phoenix is winning. Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right, there's only one possible way to explain this contradiction. Well, well, well. I don't see what is difficult about this. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. Or 3,500, if you prefer saying it that way. If all the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, there can be only one answer. Well, what is it? The value of the chips was the other way around. But what? Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 1,000 points, not the big ones. Madness! Utter madness! Why? Show me that photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips. Why, that does make 7,000 points when you add them up. Yeah. Excellent work, Justice. Yeah. Listen, I'm in Calc 3. I can do basic arithmetic. I may struggle with like wordplay algebra a little bit, but I can do somewhat good in calculus. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Sir, I'm not an idiot. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it. But wait! The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing! How exactly does that change nothing? I would like to know how this changes nothing. Go on. Oh my... Your Honor, can I sue this court? Thank you. It's about time. If small chips are 1,000 and the large chips are 100, let's do a little math. Add up the points for each side of the table. The victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points, and the defendant had 4,100 points. Well now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible! My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning! Yeah! Now, Miss Orley, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime. Weren't you? Eek! Order! Order! It appears our defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we can trust the witnesses. Excuse me? What is it, Miss Orley? I did not want to be saying this, but actually, you see, See what, Miss Orley? What do we see? In the last hand, there was cheat. Okay. Go on. Explain. You don't mean a trick? Wait, or do you mean a scam? Just let her talk. There is cheat in last hand. That is why game ends with chips as they are. Okay, so both of them got a full house. Odds are unlikely, but I don't see any, like, cheating here. You know what? Sure, let's hear you out. Go on. First we have lying, now cheating? Well, this case certainly has taken a turn. For the interesting. That's fair. Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating in the final hand. Witness testimony. The final hand. The last hand, both men had full house. There is 4 of each card in deck from ace to king. Yes, if you look at both men's hands, she is more obvious. The next moment, game becomes argument that the defendant's trick was exposed. He took bottle in his hand, poor Mr. Smith. Miss Orley, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning? Thought I smelled a cover up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the covers. A full house is a very high-scoring hand. Not easy to make in my experience. And alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics. A few main things to note. First, Orley was the one dealing the cards. So if anyone was cheating, it would have to be Orley. Second, both people had a full house. So if we're talking in terms of cheating without anyone else's testimony, it is possible that the victim is the one who cheated. It's possible that both of them cheated. It's possible that none of them cheated. We don't know. Yeah. Mr. Gavin? What's a... Apollo! Okay. For those of you who don't know, in poker, a 3 of a kind and a pair in the same hand is called a full house. So, Phoenix had 3 of a kind of 7s and a pair of aces. Smith had 3 of a kind of kings and a pair of aces. When comparing scoring with full houses, if it's like a full house versus a full house, the 3 of a kind that's a higher rank is the one who wins. So here, Smith's 3 of a kind was a higher rank than Wright's 3 of a kind, which means that Smith won this hand. But regardless, that wouldn't make Wright go bankrupt, which I assume they're not playing until an X number of rounds. They're playing until someone goes bankrupt, which there's no reason why Phoenix would go all in if he didn't have to. Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker. Can't say this bodes well for your case or career. Okay, so you have to play poker in order to be an attorney, huh? Is that how this works? In some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice. You know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair, and 3 of a kind, yes? Yeah, no problem. 2 cards with the same number makes a pair, and 3 makes 3 of a kind. Good. A picture hand with 1 pair and 1 3 of a kind. That is a full house, yes. Ah! That's a full house. That doesn't sound very easy to make, does it? It's not. You can see each player's hand in this photo. Yes. Wow, they both have full houses. We forget, there's an easy way to make a full house, and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat. The defense may cross-examine the witness. If he did cheat in the last hand, there still leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand? Yes, he did. Who's ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? I mean, unless Smith was also a con man. It takes a con man to con a con man. Last time, both men had full house. Okay. There is 4 each card in the deck from ace to king. That is true. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. Yes, what is this cheat? How is it clear? Yeah, well, the defendant, he played a 5th ace. Excuse me? We still remember both hands very well. Add that to the testimony. Add that to the testimony. Can we please add that to the testimony? Yes, please. Thank you. Cool. Yes.
Objection!
Come on now. It appears the witness is mistaken. Mistaken? But my name... Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice. Perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. Your Honor, you're a fool. Mr. Justice, I don't see what you mean. Your Honor, you're a fool. In other words, use your finger to point out your point. Fine. Fine. Point out the contradiction. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony? It's here. It's the cards. Yes. Miss Orley, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. As you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces. Eek. Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Go to bed?
No.
Maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the third ace in question. Mr. Payne, no! Why is everybody so stupid in this kangaroo court? As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in his hand. Where's this 5th ace? I see cheating alright, and it's going on right here in this courtroom. I agree. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating. Wait, please. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. I was cheating, I swear to you. That's odd. She must be lying, yet she's the most sincere I've seen her all day. Okay. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Huh. That does look like a 5th ace, doesn't it? Well, that's unfortunate. Anyways. You're right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin, who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps you might examine the actual cards. The cards? Mr. Payne. Yes? The players' hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court. Very well, the prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? The victim's cards or the defendant's cards? If these cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Now, which of these hands is more suspicious? No, let me take a look at this real quick. I don't think either of them are going to prove anything, though. I mean, regardless, we're trying to show that our person wasn't the one who was cheating. So in order to do that, we should look at our hand, and if our hand matches, then that's good. So let's view the defendant's hand. Let's start with Mr. Wright's hand. The defense would like to view the defendant's hand. Very well. Mr. Payne, your evidence? Yes, Your Honor. Okay. Well now, let's see what we have here. Right, sir. When examining the evidence, be sure to view from all sides and angles. Try using the arrow keys to turn which way and B and M to zoom in and out. That should give you a better perspective on the case. Okay, let's do this. Okay, cool. Let's spin. Okay, so we've got the red cards. Okay, nothing that crazy going on here. Okay. Cool. Backs are all the same. Everything looks good. Well, has the defense found anything they would like to share with the court? Not unless you count utter confusion. Perhaps you best examine the victim's cards next. Of course, you can always give these cards another look. Well, do I examine the other hand of cards? Yes, let's do it. I assume it's going to be the other color. Guess I'll examine the victim's cards. Your Honor, the defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's hand. Granted, but make it quick, Mr. Justice. Okay. Don't worry, justice is always swift. Alrighty, let's take a look. Your Honor, there seems to be a bit of a discrepancy here. What? Your Honor, look at this. One of the victim's cards. The back is a different color. Eh? Ah! That's impossible. But I put that card in Wright's hand. Ah. Your Honor, I rest my case. What was that, Miss Orley? No, yet, I merely said, that I have eat. Your Honor? Mr. Gavin, yes? Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? To cheat? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend. A comrade, shall we say. Uh-huh. That feels a bit directed. I don't know if that sits well with me. The dealer. Wait, so you mean this witness, Miss Orley? She's the cheater. A professional, I'd wager. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, completely unsurprising as well. Order! Order! Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. Of her mistake. Good save. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we just heard. That's impossible, but I put that card in Wright's hand. Ergo, Miss Olga Orley conspired to cheat, not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean? The defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga Orley, are you? It's Ace Attorney, that's kinda what we do here. Time for justice. There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident, and if Mr. Wright isn't guilty, that means I am. The defense accuses the witness, Miss Olga Orley, of murder. And she passes out. And it all ends perfectly on the stand. That's funny. Okay. I will say right now, the most we have is evidence that she cheated. To my knowledge, at present moment, we have no evidence that Olga Orley did any murder. Mr. Payne. Wait, that's the wrong voice. Mr. Payne, where is your witness, Miss Olga Orley? It appears she has lost consciousness, Your Honor. Mr. Justice? Your Honor, it seems you've presented a new possibility to the court. One suggesting the connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith. And that means? This court cannot pronounce a verdict for the defendant at this time. What? I did it. I held out. I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. It is better than guilty, but I'd prefer not guilty over going another day. The prosecution will need to make further inquiries.
Objection!
Yes, right? I don't like the new objection. The old objection was perfection. This one is not so much. Mr. Wright, you can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet. What nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Think. One of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what it means? What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous! But you see, Mr. Payne? All that's gonna happen is the trial is gonna extend another day. He's not gonna get a not guilty. Mr. Payne, you of all people should know. Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. You know what? That's a fair point. That's a good point. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night. As was said before, we alternated between 2 decks of cards that night. That was said before. The 2 decks at the club have different colored backs, blue and red. 1 color per deck. Why use different colored backs? To keep track of the cards, keep track of which deck's being used. If we use the same color, the 2 decks might get mixed. Use different colors and they still got mixed up? Intentionally, probably. We used the red deck for the last game. I see. But that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using the blue cards. Because that's what we were told at the very beginning of the trial. Yeah, me too. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards. At the very start of the trial, Mr. Payne said they were playing with blue cards. Whatever. In the end, 1 card of the wrong color got into the mix. Which means there was cheating. Yes, a card slipped in the deck would seem to indicate cheating. Yet, this card raises 2 serious questions. Apollo. Yes? Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think. In the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are 3 broad possibilities here. To have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Sadie. Hello, good girl. You know, my dog just came into the room. She's gonna want my attention for a little bit. But this does feel like a good spot to take a break for a little bit, so I'll be back in probably about like 5 minutes or so. Alrighty, I have returned. Okay. So, before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder? Uh-huh. If that was the last hand, then it doesn't make sense for it to be before the murder. Because if that were the case, granted, all of what I'm thinking right now lies on the assumption that the game ends when someone goes bust, right? So, assuming that someone went bust, that means Phoenix Wright would have had to win that hand. Because if he didn't, because he had more chips than Smith, Wright would have had no reason to go all in. Smith would have had to go all in. Wright only would have needed to bet his 3 red chips to force Smith all in. He'd still have a good amount to play with. Woof. What is it, good girl? Sadie, what? What? Good girl. No, I'm live right now, Sadie. Sadie? Okay. So assuming the game ended that hand, it wouldn't make sense for it to be switched before the murder, i.e. during the game. During the murder, trying to think how that would have worked. If it was during the murder, then that would mean that someone intentionally switched it out. It wouldn't make sense for Phoenix to be the one to switch it out. Because he won, he'd have no reason to. Smith wouldn't have been able to because he was actively being killed. So it would have had to be, what's her face? Orly. But from our perspective, Orly would have had to do it. Like, Orly was the one who did the murder from our perspective, because right now we're quote-unquote believing in Phoenix's innocence. Which means that Orly wouldn't have been able to change the card during the murder, so it would have had to have been after the murder. That's what it would have had to be. Now, it could have also been before the murder in an attempt to... for Orly to later show that Phoenix was the one who cheated. Either that or... It's like, when Orly said that she thought she gave the card to Phoenix, right? That means she didn't give the card to Smith to help him cheat. It means she tried to frame Phoenix for cheating. So that would have had to be after the murder, most likely. So it was... Oh. It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne. Or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. Why do you think the cards were swapped? Wasn't the card swapped into the deck? I just went through my reasoning for all of this. So I would say after. What happened after the murder?
What's that? Ridiculous! What's the point of cheating after the hands have been shown? That's silly!
To frame him now? Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. So we're just completely ignoring the fact that Orly openly admitted to trying to frame Phoenix for cheating? We're just gonna ignore that completely? That during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Yeah, I agree. Ah, quite true. That would mean that the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown, after the murder. Okay, this is going past selling straight on to... What do you mean? The only way it would make sense for him to not immediately get caught is if the hands were already revealed, but even then that wouldn't make any sense, because if the hands weren't revealed, you'd be able to clearly see the blue on the back of the card. What's the point of cheating after the game's over? To frame? Maybe? Who would... Anyways... It's not a mystery. There's another? Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue card? It's not like they openly admitted to it. Game, murder is done, victim is dead. Only two remain in the room. Alive, that is. The defendant and our witness. Olga Orly. Who was it? It was Olga. She openly admitted to it. That doesn't make sense. Sorry. But there's a problem with that explanation. Huh? Swap card was from the wrong deck. Yes, a blue card was stuck into a red hand. Mixing a card from the wrong deck when the backs are different colors. Remember that you're talking about Olga Orly. She was the dealer. Do you really think she would make such a novice mistake? Guys, again, she openly admitted to doing this. Come on. Give it a little more thought. What do you mean? Put the red card for a blue. I am losing it. Did she not openly say that she swapped the card? That's some BS right there. I mean, there are only 2 people, so it had to be Phoenix. But then why? Hang on, let me go through the history of what they said real quick. Over evidence of the cheating. No. It should have been the exact opposite. She was trying to falsely show that a cheat had occurred. Which means that somehow she had a stake in the game with the victim winning. But the game is just completely rejecting this for some reason. Well, let's try Phoenix. Was Mr. Right. And why would I do such a thing? That's my question. I actually have no idea. So it's actually an unknown third party? You're trying to hide the fact you cheated? The swap card is in the victim's hand. Okay. Okay, so that's where we're going with this. Okay. So here, we can see the 5th ace on the ground. So the idea is that at the time, Phoenix had 2 7s and 3 aces. At the end, Phoenix then replaced this guy's card with his card and grabbed another 7. That's where they're going with this. Okay. Okay. But wouldn't Phoenix have gotten caught though? Sorry, I'm a nice guy, but I'm not that nice. So is it actually just an unknown third party? They're not saying Smith himself tried to cheat. When you swap the cards, what's the right of? Hang on, we've already established that it happened after the murder, right? So everyone believes it happens after the murder. Who is the third party? Because it couldn't have been Smith because he was already dead. Who was this third party? Doesn't seem like it could have been Olga Orly either. What do you suggest him? That's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. As a defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name Miss Orly at this point. Yes, I know, but she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong color card. If the card was swapped during the game, it'd be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Okay, let's see where they're going with this. Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking how much fun all this is. Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. I don't either. I have no idea what's going on. If when you swapped the card wasn't the defendant and it wasn't Miss Orly, then who was it? Because, again, we said this happened after the murder, so we can't say Smith, so it has to be some unknown third party. Yeah, well, that is the question, isn't it? Precisely. Huh? I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. A new direction? We'll find that, indeed, after the murder, someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand. And that someone made two critical mistakes. I'm sure you're going to tell us what the first was swapping the wrong colored card. Because the one who did the swap didn't know two colors of cards were being used. The other mistake was the number on the card. What was it? The King of Spades? Let me actually check this real quick. Which one was it? The victim's hand. This one. It's the King of Diamonds. Okay. So looking at the two hands, one of them was the King of Diamonds. So this was the switched card, which it makes sense because it was placed on the very top of everything. But why does this matter? Right, the person replaced the fifth ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace after all. Wait, what? Okay, so the fifth ace would have had a blue back as well. All they knew was that the game had been won with a full house. Picked up a king from the table and swapped it in. There's one problem.
According to our case record, this person doesn't exist!
True. Not until now. But you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. Okay, I don't like this. But why? So it's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime. And you're only sharing this now? I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. 8. This trial has proceeded on one central assumption. Namely that at the time of the incident, there were only 3 people in that room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. Problem is that you chose to conceal this information from the court. I suppose that is a problem, yes. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess. Certainly, Your Honor. Very well. The trial will resume in 20 minutes. Up until then, I was having a pretty good time. Now we've taken a turn for the crazy. Let's see. If all they knew was that the game was won with a full house, then okay. Hang on. Let me pull up Paint again. Hang on. Paint. And let's go here. Okay. So the final hands were as follows. Phoenix's hand was 7, 7, 7, ace, ace. Smith's hand was king, 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 ace, ace. So somewhere in one of these hands, there was a fifth ace. What they're trying to lead us to believe is that this king was that fifth ace. Right? Which begs the question for me. Phoenix said that the only thing the person who swapped the card knew was that the game was won with a full house. Right? So looking at this, 2 main questions arise. 1, if they didn't know that there's only 4 of each card in a deck. Why would they go through the trouble of switching this ace for a king? And number 2. Hang on. Number 2, my question would be, if they knew that the game was won on a full house, couldn't they have just taken the extra ace and swapped it with with Phoenix's ace? To make it look like Phoenix was the one who was cheating? Now, granted, my guess is they were trying to remove any evidence of cheating whatsoever. But, and the reason why they still left the... Hang on. I'm actually so confused. 2 possible motives for the person who switched the card. To make unknown who actually won, or to conceal cheating. To make unknown who actually won, like, they could have swapped both hands. They could have swapped the fake ace for the real ace. In order to try to hide any cheating, in order for them to know there was cheating, they would have had to know that there were different colored backs. So my question is, why would they go through the trouble of replacing the ace with a king? I honestly can't see the reason for it. Because right now, the main assumption would be to try to hide any knowledge of cheating. But when they removed one of the aces, granted there was a pair of those aces, so it would be a coin flip in this case. But likely, they would have tried to analyze the aces to see which one was the real one, and then they would realize that the backs of the cards were different colors. So it doesn't make sense for them to make this mistake for the king, right? With Orly, it would make sense for me that Orly was on Smith's side, and when Smith was murdered, she tried to show that Wright was the one who cheated. That would make sense to me. I guess we'll figure it out eventually.
That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. To suddenly claim there was another person at the scene of the crime like that? I must ask, is it the truth? Well now, I think you know the answer to that. Being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I have no time for mysteries. I'd only ask that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Must you defend your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Kristoff. Justice. Yes, sir. The judge has summoned me to his chambers, so carry on without me. Okay. You did well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. That locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? Ah, you're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. That's the picture of my daughter in there. I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter.
Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago? What I did? It's not unreasonable for you to think I might cheat. I never, honest, but what happened 7 years ago? It is odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. You know what happened 7 years ago, what I did. Okay. So, there might be an Ace Attorney game that I missed out on then. Anyways. Want to know something? I assume you like forged evidence or something. There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker. Okay. You know what, let me actually check that myself real quick. 1 second. Oh my days. Let's see. Here. Okay, so it's something to do with the output here somewhere. Oh my days, OBS, please. Why is it only going through one channel? Why is that? That is odd. Audio. What the heck? Let me try something real quick. Let's see, so it's this one. Okay, that did nothing. Let's check with OBS. Show was going through 2 channels for a split second. Huh. I don't know. Well, I guess I'll be right back after I get this fixed. Okay, hopefully this is better. I just made my mic mono. So, hopefully that sounds, at the very least, okay. Okay, we're good. Alrighty. Back to the game. You see, poker is all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker is like trial law. Figure out what your opponent is thinking, and you win. Well, yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not. Uh-huh. Try as they might to conceal it, everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Calm down, Akagi. This isn't about you. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That's like half of poker. That witness, for instance, Miss Sorley. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who noticed that? Words, habits, twitches. It's all information for the reading. Okay, I think this is the first bit of Ace Attorney where we've actually had to look for tells in our witnesses. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me, and now I pass the secret on to you. But I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals. Give it time. Give it time where you just try to intentionally observe them. You'll probably pick it up relatively quickly. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will. Soon. Ah, almost forgot. One more thing. About this case. You should know, I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it! I have my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. And Apollo, I need you to be there, defending me. I need your power. What? What is he talking about? It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. To be continued. There's multiple parts to this? Yes, please save progress. Here. Yes. Okay. Continue on to the next chapter. How long have I been streaming for? About 2 hours. I think I could probably continue for at least a little bit. Up until like 3 or 4 hours. Yeah, we can keep going. April 20th, 12:14 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 2. Court will now reconvene. Has our witness, Miss Olga Orley, recovered? Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness. That's good. Perhaps we can hear her version of the events again. That's the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued. You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne. Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify or prosecute. The defense would like to request that Miss Orley take the stand. Very well. The witness will take the stand. Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession? Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and a poor loser? Not. Name's Olga Orley. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quick Fingers Orley. Well, there's a new side to Olga. Oh? Oh, really? Want to know something else? I'm not really Russian, and my last name sounds like... Oh, really? There, that's the truth. I hope you're satisfied. Uh-huh. Great. Witness, you'll tell the court what you were really up to that night. Fine, I'll talk. We had a plan, see? Let me remind you that you are currently under oath. Any further fabrications will have serious consequences. Fine. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy, Smith, hired me to do what I do best. I was planted at the Porch Bowl Club several days prior to the night of the game, as a waitress. So you're in cahoots with the victim. Not that he needed my help. Smith is a well-known poker player in some circles. Good for him. But winning wasn't the main purpose of this game. Okay. It was about destroying the legend, the unbeatable Phoenix Wright. Uh-huh. The plan was simple. The plan is simple. Today I'm going to beat Kirby, but with Phoenix Wright constantly yelling objection at me. Elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. Uh-huh. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card, and the trap would snap shut. You swap the cards. Exposed as a cheater and losing on top of it, it would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Indeed. Getting caught red-handed at cheating would cast doubt on all his prior wins. A 7-year legend destroyed by one little card. That was the plan. Oh really, Orly? How droll. But it appears you made quite the mistake. A mistake? I agree. The trap was elegant. Yet, what happened to that planted card? Hey, that's right. He's lucky, I'll give him that. You'd have to be slip-free from a trap. You'd have to be to slip free from a trap laid by Olga Quidfinkers Orly. Oh really? The witness would be much cuter if she's with the evil mastermind shtick. Your Honor. Your Honor, please. Dude, who wants... Uh-huh. I really don't care. Just get me back to what actually matters here, please. It's about this trap. Thank you. Alrighty, let's take a look at this testimony. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Wright lost the last hand just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. Okay, so Phoenix lost the last hand. That is interesting. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith, it was that no-good cheating defendant. Uh-huh. This feels like something I should probably start pressing. A surprisingly frank testimony that still leaves us mostly in the dark. The trap was perfect, I tell you. Perfect. If that rotten cheater hadn't messed it up. What are you talking about? Who... Anyways, look who's talking. Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, is all yours, Mr. Justice. With witnesses like her, who needs criminals, and with defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors. Anyways, back to our cross-examination. I planted the card like I was supposed to. Okay.
Hold it!
How did you plant it? Which card was it? The trump card, the 5 of hearts. Let me guess. Mr. Wright was supposed to have switched to 5 with the ace to make a full house. At least that's what you were going to accuse him of doing, thereby ruining his legend. I slid it into Wright's pocket. When was this? Why, before the match, of course, while he was eating. At the Borscht Bowl Club, we served borscht. and suckers. Remind me never to go there. Of course, the card was to make its grand debut during the game. Yeah, that's what it was supposed to do. Like a good borscht, a good plot must be cooked up early and allowed to thicken. And Brett lost the hand just like he was supposed to, then Smith searched him. Okay.
Hold it!
So everything went according to plan. Exactly. The 5th ace came up, so it's obvious the switch went off without a hitch. Once the extra card was found in his pocket, Brett would be forever known as a cheat and a fraud. There are worse things to be known as, I suppose. Tell us what happened with the search. Well, the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Okay, now that we know we're looking for a 5 of hearts, let's take a look at this. There's a 5 down here. I don't know if that's a 5 of hearts or something else, but there is a 5 under the table. The card was gone, the trap had failed. The card disappeared? Yeah, my trump card, the 5 of hearts. Gone, without a trace. Poof, Zippo! We searched every nook and cranny, even inside his cute little hat. But the card was nowhere to be found, is this correct? Never in my long, storied career, never has Quick Fingers Orly been so readily duped. Oh really? So what did happen to that 5 of hearts? Don't look at me, why don't you ask that cheating, lying, two-faced defendant? So the 5 of hearts is still missing in action. Next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. Okay. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright thoroughly and found nothing, which means he didn't cheat, which means he had no reason to strike the victim. He lost, question mark? Well... Uh-huh. What was that just now? I sensed something. Okay. So the idea is that at that moment, Orly touched the back of her neck. That's what that's supposed to indicate, probably. No, nothing, Your Honor. What to do? Should I press her a little harder? Yes. Miss Orly, you're hiding something. What are you talking about? You... me? Quick Fingers Orly? Hiding something? The defense will refrain from baseless accusations. I have one question for the witness, then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it when Wright hit him. With my own eyes, I saw it. Uh-huh. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? That witness, for instance, Miss Orly, she would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? Touching her neck, was it? Whoa, what's going on? Are we looking through his eyes? Is that what this is supposed to be? This sensation is coming into focus. There, that twitch, it's so clear. Okay, that twitch. It's like I could perceive her habit, like I couldn't before.
Gotcha!
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Miss Orly, perhaps you are unaware of this yourself. Unaware of what? Whenever you get to a certain part of your testimony, you touch the back of your neck with your left hand. My neck? So what? What indeed, Justice? I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. When she says that part of the testimony, she's subconsciously recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory, and she touches her neck. I'm sure of it. A memory? Would someone care to explain what he's babbling about? This is highly unusual. Well, let's ask the defense. You claim the witness is remembering something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us? Her habit is scratching her neck whenever she talks about the moment of the crime. So, what would remind her of most of the moment of the crime? Miss Sorley, whenever you recall the crime that night, you scratch your neck. I've noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I believe that the weapon left an inerasable impression on your neck is this. Uh-huh. Okay, it's gotta be the locket then. This is the only thing with the locket on it. And that's the only thing that I can think of that would relate to the neck. At the very least, that's where I'm going with this, is it's the locket.
Take that!
I don't know if this is right or not. Okay, it's not. Okay. Is it the bottle then? Uh-huh. Want a habit? I'll show you a habit. Okay, good for you. I'll sort it out before I develop a habit of my own. Remind her most of the moment of the crime. I guess the thing that would remind her the most of the crime would be the great bottle. But I don't see how that would affect her neck. But it would be the bottle. Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. It reminds us more of that moment than this bottle, the murder weapon. Okay, so I think I thought about how it would relate specifically to her tell and not just what would remind her the most. Okay, I'm learning. But something doesn't fit. If you're only the witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain? What's he talking about now? It was Mr. Smith, the victim, who was here. Not you. Now, cross-wild conjecture. For me, this feels like more of like a police interrogation thing than a cross-examination. So, in a sense, I do agree with Mr. Payne here. I'm not sure whether or not this should be allowed. I'll need someone to tell me in chat or something. The witnesses' habits? They're completely irrelevant. Justice. I'll admit, I'm a bit confused myself. It's certainly a unique cross-examination. Agreed? I'll explain later. Just trust me. Now's our only chance to break her. Miss Orley, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment. Yet, I am knowing nothing. I mean, this is something that I would have wanted her to testify about regardless, right? It's like, this is the only moment that truly matters. No, you're not Russian. The witness will testify, please, now. Nah, fine. Didn't let him out of my sight until the cops got there.
Hold it!
You seem uneasy. You try standing up here. Your eyes are darting all over the place. I must be getting warm. Tell me, after the crime, what was the defendant like? Well, he must have been stunned by the weight of his crime. He sat in a daze at that table until the cops came. Nothing else? Nothing else. If all he did was sit at the table, her testimony's flawed. It's basically bogus. It contradicts the evidence. What's that? Well, show us this evidence, Mr. Justice. This evidence that you claim contradicts the testimony. You didn't let him out of her sight until the cops got there. I know there's some evidence that contradicts that. has to do with the fact that she said he just sat there doing nothing. He's the one who called the cops.
Take that!
Miss Sorley, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you said. It states that the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. Eh? And we know that the defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made that phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bowl Club. Ah! So explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely. Did she not just follow him? Is that not a possibility? Man who picked up the ball and sprung it that night wasn't the defendant. Showdown time. You dirty cheat! Check his pockets, now! It's gone! The card's gone! You lose. Just then, Smith grabbed the bottle from next to Ray. And he hit me. You! Some master cheating you turned out to be. Uh-huh. When I came to, the victim was already dead. Is that it? That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure. Well, where does this leave us? Madness! This is madness! I'm dreaming! Must have been me who was here with the bottle. Mr. Payne, would you calm down, please? It appears our prosecution is at his wit's end, and frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events? Mr. Gavin, sir? I believe that, as a defense in this case, you're compelled to call Miss Orley a big, fat liar. What? Three are in that room the night of the murder. The defendant, the victim, and her. So, whatever happened to the fourth person who was there? She has a motive. A motive? The plot foiled. The witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. The denouement of that argument was murder. What? I didn't. I'm no killer. It was a trap. Someone's trying to frame me. What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled, we catch ourselves in the process. Mr. Wright? Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph Gavin. What are you saying? Why not consider the other possibility? That there was another person in the room at the time of the murder. Right. Like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder. And the one who swapped the card didn't know two colors of cards were being used. A fourth person. Ah, this theory again. Your fourth person doesn't exist! Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape and no chance for deception. The perfect place to catch the real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. A clue to the real criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. Right at the beginning of the trial, no less. What? Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about? Sorry. Remember what I said. The fourth person who swapped the cards made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the color on the backs of the cards. Right. But how could such an obvious mistake occur? Cards used for the last game were red. Yet, there is one person here, in our court, who thought those cards were blue. You're not... Phoenix, you're not accusing Winston Payne, are you? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was? It's not me, I swear! Who is this fourth person? Why do I always get put on the spot like this? Let's hear what the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? It could have also been Kristoff. I don't remember the start of the case. It was either Payne or Kristoff. Because Winston Payne was the one who presented the blue cards, but Kristoff was the one who was using the metaphor of blue. So I guess for now I'm gonna say Kristoff.
Take that!
As I expected. Your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right? Kristoff Gavin, you were the fourth person that night. But of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of the crime scene is black and white. You can't tell which of the cards are blue, the ones on the floor or the table. But look, you can see the colors in this photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, it was well before this evidence came to light. True. It's true that the defendant was engaging in poker with the victim. It was only that, a game in the purest sense, a competition, Your Honor. A competition? Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Here. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame. No, that's final outcome. Well, Kristoff? Mr. Gavin? Mr. Gavin! Is something the matter? No, nothing. Excuse me. It was just so sudden. Right, you aren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Kristoff? You know even I'd never take a joke this far. This has gone beyond Correct, but it is what's happening. The defendant accusing his own defense attorney of murder. I assure you, I am quite sane. But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim? I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either. Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim have never even met. Well, what if they have? Huh? There is a possibility, after all. They may have met that night before the game started. What are you suggesting? What is this? Uh-huh. This honestly feels like the first case of Dangan V3. That's what this feels like right now. I was so confused then. I am confused now. What is happening anymore? Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. The defense would like to request no such thing. Why? At the very least, it is making sense why Phoenix requested specifically us to defend him. Mr. Gavin? Testimonies must relate to the case. How can anything happening before that game of poker be related? Someone help me. I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin. As I explained before, the defense believes that Miss Orley. Am I to assume you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you. Oh, okay. Oh. Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony? What if I say no? Because I really want to say yes. Much as I'd like to, I guess the testimony isn't related to the case per se. You heard what the judge said, Apollo. It's your decision. Yours. Justice, you aren't seriously considering. I'm sorry, Mr. Gavin, but now that we've gone this far, we might as well go all the— Okay, so it is forcing me into this either way. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. Very well. The defendant, or Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please. Alrighty, let's hear him out. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Okay. So you were there before or after you met with Smith? Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. Okay. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Mr. Gavin, you were at the Borscht Bowl Club the night of the murder? I dine with him rather frequently. And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder? Quite against my will, I had become involved in the murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you, right? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then. And now. Uh-huh. I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong. Very well, the defense may cross-examine the witness. Justice. Sir, he's lying, and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright. This can't end well. Why can't I have a normal trial? You know what? I want to take a look at one thing. You know what? I can actually look all around all these things now, actually. What is this? Piece of tape? You should just buy a new one. Maybe you can't afford. Can we not open it? What do you mean we can't open the phone? Okay, looks like there's really nothing else to care about here. Guess I might as well just go through and take a look at everything. So this, it is just a bottle, it looks like. Grape juice. How long has it been since I drank grape juice? Sure, it's favorite drink. I wonder how well it goes with borscht. Okay. Just in case. Okay. Cool. Anything else I should note? Not right now, it looks like. Okay, and we can't turn the pictures. Okay. Uh-huh. Right. Yeah. Let me just go through everything once real quick. 5 minutes over Kristoff left. Failed. 1 second. Okay. Waitress. Yep. I got cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. Let's compress here. You called the police from the first floor of the restaurant, correct? Exactly. Cell phones don't get a signal down the hideout. Was anyone else on the first floor at that time? Not a soul. It was the middle of the night after all. Clear in the darkened restaurant, I called the cops. After making the call, I returned to the hideout. It didn't seem right to leave the injured waitress all alone. When I returned, he was dead, blood showing from a cut on his forehead.
Hold it!
When you returned, the victim was already dead, yes. I'll admit, I was a little startled when I walked in. A little? He was bleeding from his forehead after all. Okay. I can't tell if blood is visible there. I guess I should at the very least give it a try. Sure.
Objection!
That is it, okay. Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? Ah, I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head. Eh? You? You put the hat on the dead man's head? He wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view. Shining bright, just like in this photograph. And I picked up his hat off the floor and put it on his head. Why do you do a thing like that? All I can say is, I'm sorry. That's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. This is the only thing you touched at the crime scene? The fingerprints on the bottles say otherwise. See it being the victim's or his head. I'd think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Ah, here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon? Just seems our client is determined to lie his way through his case. Uh-huh. He's still our client, isn't he? In any case, please continue the cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh? Push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? When Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table with this photograph. Okay. Dale Smith, the waitress. Tell the police to return for her. That's make the call. Okay. Cool.
Hold it!
Sure. I'll pay in full, Kristoff. It was I who got involved after a while. What is happening? Well, Justice, you know what you have to do. He's lying. Expose him now. To think, what's Mr. Wright trying to tell me with this testimony? The truth has to be in there somewhere. Sat at the table and the final press everything. Sat at the table in this photograph. With Mr. Gavin? He dives with me at the Bush Bowl Club quite frequently. We were enjoying a usual dinner at our usual spot, as usual. Usual? I always sit at the table closest to the piano. I see. Where Mr. Smith was sitting. So the plates and such on the table were from your dinner? Indeed. The remnants of my meal with Kristoff. We dined for 2 hours, then Kristoff left. After that, we walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left.
Hold it!
5 minutes? So the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time? That would have been a fateful encounter, I'm sure. Oh, Mr. Wright, what was it you said? Kristoff, Gavin, and Shady Smith may have met? I believe I did say that. Here I was all nervous about this meeting, and now we hear they just passed in the hall? That does seem a little weak as a pretense for murder. Oh, it would be, if that were all that really happened. Come on, Mr. Wright. What are you hiding this time? was uncontrollable, I left to call the police. Okay, sure. Turned, he was dead, blood streaming from the corner of his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. This is the only other thing I can think of. Before we get there, let me save.
Objection!
Nope, okay. Okay. Well. Let me take a look at the... Can I not take a look at the people? Fine. Girl was knocked out cold. Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. Right. When I returned, he was dead. Blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Maybe?
Objection!
Nope. Okay, I'm actually so confused here. Go from the beginning. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table on this photograph. Okay, cool. Had dinner together here at this table. Okay. I believe I pressed everything. Trinity Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. Okay. Guess I have nothing for that. When the trap failed, Smith the waitress. Trap from Miss Olga mentioned. Okay. I haven't pressed this apparently. Trap source was planned to put in Wright's pocket beforehand and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. Blah, we already know all of this. Yes. A harmless prank, in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it. A quirk? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. The card she planted. Yes, I took a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. An empty bottle of grape juice? The murder weapon? Yes. I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see. Your Honor, I don't see a card inside of this bottle. Battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. Sounds like a terrific drama. A card inside the murder weapon? That's strange. Did the police miss it in the investigation? Maybe I'll take a look. Mr. Wright, the poker head court number 3 approves of this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information. After in the game and dispose of the card in the bottle. How about I just present the bottle?
Objection!
Really? Okay, fine. We'll load back here. At least I know roughly where to go now.
Hold it!
Options. Can I increase the text speed at all? Skip on. Unread text. That's it? Okay, so it looks like there's no speed up option, unfortunately. Anyways, this is weird. I don't get it. Blah, blah, blah. We know the drill already. Now. Anyways, again, this doesn't feel right. Last chess moment with new information. I discovered the trap during the game. Okay, let's save real quick. Okay.
Hold it!
Why in the bottle? Choose my opponent's intent immediately. I'm used to entrapment, you see. I knew it was coming. Oh, so you struck first. I like that. Every trick in the book. They don't work on me. At least when you get lucky and stick your hand in your pocket, they don't. Yep. Right. I'm not sure I presented this yet in this line. Let me try.
Objection!
Okay, it looks like I didn't. Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. Blah. Yep, the tape on the back of it, but I don't think that really matters. surely it has something to do with this, right? I am so lost. Sure. Let's go look at this picture real quick. Yep, okay. Everything checks out, I think. Yeah. This could be wrong. But that means you left twice, right?
Objection!
Yeah, I have no idea.
Hold it!
You're not gonna tell us anything about this phone call? Yeah, I would have no evidence for that.
Hold it!
Right. Hmm. I'm so confused. I really do just want to pull the "this is my attorney's badge." Okay. It's completely empty. There we go. Now can I present it?
Objection!
Okay. I don't like that. Uh-huh. I had to full on, like, get the event that said that the bottle was empty. Okay. I don't know if I like that. Well, Mr. Wright, surely... Isn't all you have to say for yourself. I can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Perhaps a fifth person came and took it out, and a sixth person could have helped. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client. My apologies, Your Honor. I won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside the bottle. There was nothing. So what's going on? Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Or did the card just disappear? I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Kristoff. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card in the bottle to dispose of it. And when I put the hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. A reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone. That night. Recall that I spoke with defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the court. Kristoff, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you. He turned out to be good? He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him. Hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china pate? What? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please, the cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands, should it come to that. Bone china plate? A kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny. And not plate, but pate. I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. The court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second, something's not right about that phone call. Is it that he wouldn't have known that his forehead was like that because he had his hat on? So, after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club. Most certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this bone china pate? That's right. Yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. And when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin? The stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason. The reason why you put the victim's hat back on. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it, Phoenix Wright? Order! I will have order! Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor? I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear defense attorney Gavin's testimony? Well, as the prosecutor, Very well, we'll break for 10 minutes. Afterwards, Mr. Gavin will take the stand for a cross-examination. Are we all clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well, this will be the final recess for the day. What is happening anymore? 2:32 p.m. All of this in 5.5 hours. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Red are both in the judge's chamber. Who'd have thought today would turn out like this? May I? Hello. Oh, what? What's her name? Trudy, I think? Hello, sir. Please, pick a card. Trudy, not now. Not now. This one. Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it. Is it the 5 of Hearts? It better not be the 5 of Hearts. Trump card. Card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely and the game is yours. That's all. May I take a look at the back of that card? It's true, I have seen it. The 5th ace. I'm just reading, I swear. Missing 5th ace. Wait, the splotch of red. Is this blood? You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw The truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it. My trump card for finding the truth. Has it been added to the court record? I fell deep into thoughts, my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl, I'd seen her recently, but... Okay, so right now... Nothing. Okay. Anyways. That's when I made the connection. It's about time! Okay, let's just make sure the back of it is blue. Please. Okay, it's red. The back of it is red, so this was the original card then. Okay. But the other ace of spades we saw also had a red back. Well, okay then. The court will now reconvene. Defense attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Will the witness state his name and occupation? Is this farce necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this courtroom. Polly wants a cracker! Fine, I'll play along. First, there's one thing we have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's head? By secret, I'm guessing he means the fact that Mr. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest on it.
Objection!
Objection! I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Wright? What do you think you're doing, Wright? Why is he here? What is happening? Wow, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore the hat all night, never once taking it off except for that one time. That one time being the instant he was hit. Oh! When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to see Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer. Is that what you're trying to say? Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin? I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court. What? Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation, I see little reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night. Finally! You may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events that fateful night? Witness testimony. The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked through the little window into the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright, holding a bottle in his hand. I sensed that was not the best place for me to be at the time, and so I left. That's when the call came from Wright. Whether for better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team? Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client. What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. You had to testify as you just did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright, you had to say that. because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo? Mr. Wright? The defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. I can't believe any of this is happening. My throat hurts a bit. It feels tight. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. I agree. Ever since that man that night troubled me, so I returned back to the club.
Hold it!
Man, you mean Mr. Smith? He was different from the other customers, his aura, shall we say. I knew he was a serious poker player, but it was more than that. So then you knew the true nature of your client's job? Of course, but I also knew he was into occasion gambling, which would be illegal. Well, it makes sense that he'd know. They were friends after all. Worried for my friend, I returned to the club. You see, I feared this Mr. Smith might be someone coming to sell an old score. I see. What happened then? I went down to the basement and peeked through the little window to the hideout.
Hold it!
Uh-huh. The little window? You mean the one used to keep watch up the stairs? Uh-huh. Yes, a relic of the ancient past. The Black Marketeers used it, I believe. Why did you go through the trouble of peeking in the window? Wouldn't it have been easier to just open the door and go into the room? I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Mr. Wright? Yes. What if my fears had been unfounded? I'd be walking in on their match. Bad form, to say the least. So far, everything he's saying makes sense. And right after the murder took place.
Hold it!
How do you know it was right after the murder? Really? No need to shout, Justice. I was just getting to that part of my testimony. Ah, there he is, the coolest defense in the West we know and love. Even when you're standing up there on the witness stand, some things never change. I was afraid you'd change too, Mr. Wright, but you hadn't. You and that overbearing personality of yours. With friends like these, who needs enemies? That's fair. Victim was dead as he appears in the photo.
Hold it!
By photo, you mean the second photograph of the crime scene? Precisely. You see, he wasn't wearing his hat then. I saw his head when he was dead. Then Mr. Wright came along and replaced his hat. Can you describe the scene of the crime for us? Head, the conscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. No, I do want to check something real quick. Okay, just want to make sure. That would likely be this bottle, I think.
Hold it!
Those were the only three at the scene of the crime? Yes, as far as I saw, at least. We're back to where we started. The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police? Two reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend Wright. Even after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend.
Objection!
There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Justice, I just said I saw no one. Not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Ah, yes, this mysterious fourth person. Who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose. Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap the cards in the victim's hand? It's a great question. Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary? Can show something I can't find myself. Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the fifth ace. The fifth ace, right. Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out a card that has been raised. Sure. We'll go with this. Now, I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere before that this was like a forged piece of evidence. But at this point, we don't know that. So, let's just present it. Reason? Yeah, sure. Never. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out. Then go ahead and point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the 5th ace? It had blood on it.
Take that!
My reason is, this. Is that an ace? Why? Why, it's got blood on it! Right next to the spade! What? This is insane! Why wasn't I told about this? Why? Could this be? Could this be the missing 5th ace? Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Okay, so it seems like this wasn't forged then. Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Boar's Bowl Club that night after the murder had occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock and trade after all.
Objection!
No, impossible. Unacceptable. The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? How can you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason? The reason for the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime. Where are you going with this? Take another look at the photo, and at the victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose. I mean, but the way the blood was running backwards, not forwards, which means that the missing card would be behind him. Which doesn't really make sense. Killer then took the card to hide the blood. Regardless, the evidence is non-permissible. Oh, right, regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years. You used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question. What are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken the card from a crime scene. And now I've told you. That one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see.
Objection!
This is baseless conjecture. Baseless!
Objection!
Oh, I assure you it's quite based. Okay, surely that's a meme. Surely that's a meme in this community. Surely. What? It's amazing, really, how a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo? Yes? Try picturing the scene of the crime in your head. Right. The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table, and before the killer swapped a card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. In their hand? Given this, there is one decisive problem with this scene. Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there is a drop of blood on the card, whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses. Whose position doesn't fit with the bloody card? I'm guessing he's going to say it's the second person's because their perspective is that they wouldn't be able to see it.
Take that!
This is the problem. That would be Mr. Gavin, yes? The second witness's position is far less problematic than yours right now, Justice. Or perhaps perilous is a better word. Uh-huh. Okay, I don't get it. Whose position does... What does that even mean? Whose position doesn't fit? Sure, the killer's. I don't know. It reminds me of the old days. Not the good old days per se. I do not get it. Fine, the victim, sure. I don't know. Well, look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back in his chair. Okay, so it is that was going on the back of his head instead of going forward. Cool. So it is that thing. Okay. I really don't like how they phrased it this way. Yeah. And swivel chairs. Apollo, try turning the chair around. Fine. How do I do this? How do you want me to do? There we go. So the other way, it would have to be. Sure. At the time of the murder, the victim's chair was facing away from the table. Okay. Informing the police, what was the chair facing? Came back to the room, thought I was facing a scene in the photo. I mean, the killer turned the chair back around. Let's take the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know that the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder, but this creates another significant contradiction. Losing sense again, shall we? Fine, let me save. Contradicts our new understanding of the crime. The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses. Shouldn't the victim was facing away. The killer, because they'd have to be on the other side, right? Front, correct? Be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Sitting here currently is? I think it'd be quite hard. What you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall in the middle of a game? And a sufficient reason will soon come to light. There is something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here. Where would his assailant be standing? Don't worry, let's think it through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing toward the wall at the time. Sure. Try to forget about everything else. Where would the killer have to be standing to strike our victim from the front? It would have to be here. Sure. It had to be standing in the wall? It would be impossible. The victim was facing a solid cupboard. Couldn't he be in the cupboard or something? And the cupboard hit him from above. It's simple logic, really. This is the only place the killer has been standing. That means that at that very moment of the crime... Wait, I know. Moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there. That's the only explanation. Right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately. Bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard. Your Honor, there's one more thing you mentioned before. Please give this to the bailiff. Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright. Okay. Let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again. It's been changed. So here at the time of the crime, then this cupboard wasn't here. Which means, Apollo, try moving the cupboard. It would be blocking the window. As you can see, the cupboard was the problem. At the time of the murder, it had to have been as shown here. Now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my. What's this? Stop being so cheeky. Oh my, what's this? Oh wow. Drama. Anyways. Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. It appears we found yet another contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Notice something? Yes. I'm not a... You see, it may be difficult for me to find the string. But once I find it, I'm smart enough to know how to pull it until its end. Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradicting indicators. Is the victim, the killer, the witness, or the second witness? Oh, let me push E. It's my badge proving that I'm a lawyer. Anyways. About this cupboard. Are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs. That's right, someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. Oh, is the coolest offense in the West losing his cool? Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right? It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was. While the window, that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Excuse me, Your Honor. Order. This is a court of law, and I will have order. We just now received a word from our investigative team at the Borscht Bowl Club. They've examined the cupboard and the hideout, Your Honor. Oh? And what did they find? Well, Your Honor, it turns out there is a secret passage behind it. Wow. Ah, yes, I believe I mentioned something of the sort before. This is one of the tricks to the room many of our regulars know about. I do remember him saying something about that now that he mentions it. A secret passage is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal goings-on. You never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go to? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops and enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. Uh-huh. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo? Simple? Uh-huh. If you say so. I see it, but I don't believe it. That girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. The time of the murder, the window was blocked and the victim's hat was only off his head for a few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin? Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we can probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. There he crouched, hidden in the secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came, and he took it. The door was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. Time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. Then our killer stepped out from the secret passage into the hideout. Must heard the cupboard side on the side. He rolled his chair around to look, and after the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. That single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor. And the fact that they were all red. Hopefully we're nearing the end of this. I'm pretty tired. Well, it seems this trial has taken yet another turn. I'm truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor?
The prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant, he is hereby cleared of all suspicion. Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately. Obviously, he's objecting to this. Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin? Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? The defendant is cleared of all suspicion? This is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to put blame on someone else. And not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Illegal evidence? Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin. Is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. Yeah, that's the main thing that's been bugging me for a little bit. Is the fingerprints on the bottle. Bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright is drinking. How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? Not just any fingerprints, am I right, Mr. Payne? Actually, yes, the fingerprints on the bottle were upside down. I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. The court in this case demanded an explanation. I can think of only one reason why one would hold a bottle upside down. It is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor? See how the codfish squirms to the last? Well, Apollo? The boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still, but I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation, just like that. What? Upside down, other than to... Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there, in plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words? I agree. It's likely this right here, about like picking them out of the boxes or something. You'd be hasty to deliver bread with an questions indeed. Well, Mr. Justice? Mr. Gavin said that the court in this case demanded an explanation. Don't worry, Justice won't leave until justice is done. Just in case. Just in case I'm wrong. So I kinda don't think I am. Why the fingerprints on the bottle are upside down. This photo.
Take that!
It's actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. On the floor? Yes. Now reach down and pick it up, without getting out of your chair. See? You can actually go pick up the bottle by its neck, with your fingers upside down. Looking at this photograph taken the night of the murder, the defendant, Mr. Wright, sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor, the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times. Wow, I can't believe it was that simple! Recall our dinner that evening, Kristoff. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically, you used the bottle on the table to do the deed, but then you must have remembered. So you went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano. And you switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon. And that would explain why the card isn't there. What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. You claim that I switched the bottle. Where is your proof? The missing card? The proof would be, if he did switch it with one of the bottles upstairs, have the court go back to the crime scene and check to see if the card is in one of those other bottles. If it is, there we go. More baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty. That's why. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation? Right, okay, so he foresaw all of this. So the additional investigation was the bottle. Yes, I have your memo about that here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Boris Boat Club. Here's one of the bottles in question. What are you going to dust that for fingerprints too? There's been around that but his. Probably wouldn't make such a novice mistake. True. The bottle won't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? Just humor me. Yep, inside of that bottle will be the card. There's something inside the bottle. What's this? That card. It can't be. Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Mr. Wright lost the last hand just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him, but the planted card was gone. The trap failed. This isn't... You're telling me that this is the planted card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony? Put my hand in my pocket and found a card. Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the Five of Hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. In the bottle. This is the card. The bottles were swapped, and the only one who could have done that was the fourth person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. Fun. Just made her food levitate. Well, I guess that's about it then. That is all. Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright? Revenge? Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago? My past is like my logic. Straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we could have this little tete-a-tete, right? This is insane. What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone? No. No, you don't. Please just let this end. We come to the end of our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Christoph Gavin? He's admitted everything. We're processing his arrest now. I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he? Not that we know of. Mr. Wright. Have you anything to add? I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter. About this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupation was listed as a traveler. Not a profession to be sure, and that's all we know about him. I'll arrange for a follow-up investigation, Your Honor. Good. Mr. Wright? Yes? 7 years, and you still haven't lost your touch. Christoph Gavin was a man with much significance for me, both as a friend and a lawyer. He was extremely talented, to be sure. I needed 2 things before I could confront him. The first was a place where no injustice would be tolerated, this courtroom. The second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, the defense attorney. You, Apollo. Me? This is a dark time for our legal system. A twisting of justice brought on by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right. Mr. Wright? Our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Well, this seems like a good time to announce a verdict. The court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright, not guilty. Yippee! Court is adjourned. April 20th, 4:28 p.m. District Court Lobby number 3. Thanks, Apollo. You came through, just like I thought you would. I'm pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you who cornered the killer. I couldn't have done it by myself. You sensed it too, today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yes, a sensitivity I lack. You'll come to understand it soon enough. Wait, I wonder if he means... Yes, that's what he means. Say you saw the moment and hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. Yep. What was that, Mr. 8? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. The answer. Right. Today was full of questions without answers, most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have had to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in the days to come. Huh? Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me. I met the girl whose picture is in the locket. Your daughter, right? That's right. She's my daughter. You know, you're right about this locket. Eh? I took this off the neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. So the truth is, this locket really did belong to him. That's perjury. You testified. You said that locket was yours. I said no such thing, actually. I merely said that it was a locket with my daughter's picture inside. A subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. And it's the truth. Wait, but then why? Why was the victim wearing a locket with the picture of your... Surely that wasn't the original picture. Sometimes the straightest path to the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career. Speaking of which, I may be out of a job. I work for Gavin Law Offices after all. Still can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs. Apollo. Yes? How about coming to work for me? Eh? You mean at the Wright & Co. Law Offices? I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it. I can't imagine that to be true, but... Wait, but didn't you... You're not a... Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. That incident 7 years ago. That legendary trial. And in the middle of it all was one man. Phoenix Wright. The case reached its sad conclusion, and he left law for good. Have you ever thought about coming back to the courts? I'm not qualified to stand in a court of law, I'm afraid. Didn't you notice in today's trial? There is a single piece of forged evidence. Forged evidence? What are you talking about? I'm talking about evidence that shouldn't have existed. A naughty magician's trick. One piece of evidence struck me as odd, true. Surely it's the ace, right? Surely they're talking about the ace. Seemed, well, too perfect. I'll bet this was the forged evidence. And it came from Trudy as well. You mean this, don't you? I got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright. Yes, that card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left, leaving the wrong card in its place, luckily for us. It's a fraud. Fraud? Why would you be so sure? The only person who claimed it was a fraud. You're the one who took the real card from the crime scene, leaving the killer. The verdict was already handed down 7 years ago. Then, you really? Yes, I forged this card. Only at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real. You can't do something like that and call yourself an attorney. Who's calling themselves an attorney, Apollo? So it's true. The rumor is true. 7 years ago. None of that matters much now, does it? It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn the next page. My office's address. Drop in, if you like. Mr. Wright. Oh, about your uppercut. Try yelling, "Take that," next time. I find it packs a little more punch. And Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time. And with that, Mr. Wright walked out the door. Why are they playing the happy music? This doesn't feel happy. A lot of mysteries went unsolved. And at the time, I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. I'd find that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law. And this is how my story begins. Just under 4 hours and we finally made it to the end of case 1. Yes, save current progress here. Continue. No thank you, I am done for today. Wow. That was an experience. It's kind of all I have for that. It's an experience. So, I guess that's it for today. Yeah, so to everyone who came today, said hi, and just stayed around for a few seconds or whatever, thank you for coming. I hope you had a good time watching me suffer by the end of this, where very little things made sense. Hopefully next case will make more sense. And, I guess that's about it for today's stream. Thank you for watching, and until next time, God bless you all. Bye-bye.